Good afternoon. My name is Dr. INTAN SOEPARNA from Faculty of Law, Universitas Airlangga. Today, I'm going to give an insight, an explanation, a lecture about women's farmers' rights under United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This online learning is funded by UOS from Belgian government under the partnership and cooperation between Faculty of Law and Criminology Vrije Universiteit Brussels and the Faculty of Law Universitas Airlangga. First, I would like to explain what is gender equality. Gender equality has emerged as a prominent objective in international policy since it is firmly established as a fundamental value in the United Nations Charter of 1945. So the gender equality is the equal treatment from society or from government to both genders. And it is also the milestone of the commitment to gender equality that is enshrined in the Declaration of Human Rights, that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Thus, gender equality exists in several international conventions. For example, in the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, Article 2 states that though all the governments, all the parties should condemn any discriminations against women in any forms. And also in Article 14 state that all the parties shall take into account the particular problems faced by rural women and the significant roles which rural women play in the economic for the survival of their families, including their works in the non-monetized sectors of the economy. In International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Article 3 also mentioned that the state parties or the parties to the covenant should undertake to ensure the equal right of men and women. This in Article 2 of International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, the parties, the member parties, should also guarantee that the rights enunciated in the covenant will be exercised without any discrimination. So referring to the Article 14 of the Convention against the Elimination and Discrimination of a woman's rights, we are going to explain about women in agriculture. First of all, I would like to underline that agriculture plays a vital role in ensuring food security. However, in some countries, most of the time, it encounters with several challenges experienced by farmers, and then one of the challenges is the gender inequality in agricultural sector, wherein the contributions and significance of women's involvement are frequently undervalued or disregarded entirely. So sometimes women are marginalized and usually excluded from the modern farming system. Women also face limited mobility and social networks, and then frequently prevent them from accessing formal and information channels. On the other hand, the rural communities typically rely on family unit to engage in agricultural production. But it is common for women in these communities to lack control over key resources and assets, including land, labor, finance, and new technology. And then also, gender inequality in agriculture is rooted in culture, especially East culture, especially Indonesian culture, where patriarchal values push women to the edge of agriculture sectors. On the other hand, the role of women in agriculture has a prominent since they make essential contribution to agriculture and rural economic activities, especially in developing countries. They have a prominent contributions For example, in Indonesia, the majority of farmers are small-scale farmers, with women accounting for 24% from 25.4 million farmers, or around 8 million farmers in Indonesia is women. So the commitment and implementation of strategy to ensure sustainable and inclusive agriculture growth by addressing gender-related issues in agriculture is very important. And also the role of women in agriculture. Women workers and the farms and agriculture business, whether compensated or not, they are very active actor in the agriculture. And also sometimes women farmers working as unpaid laborers on their own family farms. And women manager oversees certain agriculture products via supervising workers and participating in the post-harvest procedures, and sometimes unpaid. Thus, women have significantly contributed to comprehensive agricultural development by participating in crop production, for example, horticulture, animal husbandry, poultry, aquaculture, natural resources management, and other related activity. For example, mostly women farmers are doing sowing, hoeing, grass cutting and weeding, picking tea leaves or cotton stick collection, on the separation of seed from a fiber, or they are doing irrigation, fertilizer application, plant protection, harvesting, winnowing, storing, or even they also work on the crop and livestock production at subsistence and commercial levels. Yeah? So the question is, do women farmers have rights? Of course. In 2018, the United Nations has a declaration on the right of peasants and other people working in a rural area, or UNDROP. And it is a landmark in the acknowledgement of gender equality in agricultural sectors. Yeah. So the UNDROP recognized the right of smallholders, women farmers, to participate in rural economic, social, political, and cultural development. So in Article 4.2 state that peasant women, or the women's farmer, have rights to equal access to financial services, agricultural credit and loans, marketing facilities and appropriate technology, equal access to use of and management of land and natural resources, and equal or priority treatment in land and agrarian reform and inland resettlement schemes, and also they are entitled to have a decent employment, equal remunerations, and social protection benefits, and to have access to income-generating activities. All those rights are basically invisible in the situation around the Indonesian women's farmer. They mostly do not have equal access to financial services, especially if they have a husband who also working as a farmer. They mostly do not have equal access to use of management of land. And unfortunately, some women farmers do not have equal remuneration or social protection benefits. Yeah. On the other hand, the right of women in agricultural sector is also recognized in Beijing Declaration that actually all the members of UN should implement policy and program that increase women access to financial, technical, extension, and marketing services in order to increase women's income and promote household and food security, especially in rural areas. So, in order to strengthen the argument that women's farmer has right under the international policy, we will take a look to the women's farmers' right in UN Sustainable Development agendas. In the parlance of sustainable development, the gender equality is firmly established in the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. This agenda specifically urged the international community to strive for gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls, as outlined in Sustainable Development Goals number 5 on gender equality. So let's see in the target 5.8, yeah, state that all countries should undertake reforms to give women equal rights to economic resources, as well as access to ownership and control over land and other forms of property, of financial services, or even inheritance and natural resources in accordance to national laws. And we take a look at the SDG No Poverty Target 1.4. Mentioned that by 2030, ensure that all men and women, in particular the poor and the vulnerable, have equal rights to economic resources, as well as access to basic services, ownership, and control over land and other forms of property. And then we go to the SDG number 2, or SDG Zero Hunger. Target 2.3, the agenda is to achieve double the agricultural productivity and incomes of small-scale food producers, in particular women. And the SDG number 4, in the quality of education target 4.5, underline that the goal is to eliminate gender disparities in education and ensure equal access to all levels of education and vocational training. So the conclusion is, in order to achieve transformative change of gender equality in agriculture, it is necessary to address gender disparity from informal or norm and formal of policy factors. Thus, transformative change acquires the development of institutional framework and public policies that incorporate programmatic interventions capable of tackling systemic barriers to gender equality and the empowerment of women. The last, in order to promote the right of women in agriculture, it is necessary to incorporate gender equality into normative and technical process and implementing comprehensive and transformative strategies to address the underlying reasons for current inequities and advance inclusive agriculture and rural development. In summary, the women's farmers' rights under international policy could be implemented by approaching or developing the gender responsive policies in agriculture. So that's all my lecture. Thank you and goodbye.